O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel.
My grandparents all came from Norway, settled in Wisconsin and Minnesota.
That document makes you a citizen? Sign here, Sergeant. Or make your mark.
World War II hit. Dad joined the Marines. After World War II, Dad came home, the only survivor of his platoon, and Mom was very active in the Lutheran Church as kind of a missionary trying to reach the Jews. So Dad was an engineer at Caterpillar Tractor Company, electrical engineer. His dad had died when he was 19 after suffering from tuberculosis for many years. So Dad really didn't have a dad, and he determined with his three boys he's going to be what he didn't have. I don't think there's anything I can't do on a house or a car. Dad just taught us everything. My mom gave me a book that she had from her Lutheran college called Contradictions in the Bible. So I was a brand new Christian and thought like, whoa, I don't know, maybe this book isn't quite true. Right away I was faced with this, are there contradictions in the Bible? And so it was quite a struggle. I fell right away into the gap theory problem. So I went on for many years as the two-track mind of believing the earth is millions of years old and believing the Bible. Right away I was faced with this, are there contradictions in the Bible? Plus, I was in biology class at high school, East Peoria High School, and my teacher was a very strong evolutionist. She really pushed the evolution theory on her students.
The whole public school system is unconstitutional as far as federal involvement. It shouldn't exist. It's a state issue. It's actually a local issue.
$480,000 school buses carry over 50 million students to public school each year. Of the 50 million students, 35 million of them are 4 years old, attending pre-kindergarten. For 14 years, our children are taught and raised by federal government employees. America spends more than any country in the world on education. Taxpayers dish out over $634 billion every year for public schools, and we are ranked 14th in the world. Why is America doing so poorly in education? What are our children being taught? And more importantly, who runs America's public school system?
School spending has tripled over the past 40 years. We now spend much more than other countries, but what do we get? Fancier schools, more assistant principals, but student learning? No improvement. Look at it. There's the line. For 40 years, scores have been flat. Much more money, no improvement. This is awful.
It's time to come together to get it done so that we can truthfully say in America, no child will be left behind.
The emphasis was on, under No Child Left Behind, was on teaching kids how to read and not foster. There was no money in the budget, essentially, for fostering a love of reading, as crazy as that sounds.
Just how to read rather than love of reading.
That's it.
When it comes to education, we are not a collection of states competing against one another. We're a single nation competing against the world.
Any reasonable person viewing this would say that excessive force is being used.
And look what happens when the gray-haired principal tries to break it up. He's body slammed by a student.
Tonight, a local school teacher is facing some serious charges.
NBC 10 has obtained information that details allegation of sexual assault.
Evolution is the foundation for humanism. Man becomes God. I'm God. I'm God. I'm God. I'm God. I'm God. I'm God. Hey, Gabriel, come and listen to this. Ha, ha, ha.
Satan is angry because he wants to be God. It tells us in the book of Ezekiel, verse chapter 28, that Lucifer rebelled against God. And in Isaiah chapter 14, it tells us the 5 things called the I will. So Satan, I will. Basically, he said, I will be like the Most High. Satan wants God's job. And so because we are made in the image of God, and because he can't do anything to God, he comes after us. We're made in his image. So it's no different than people like when Saddam Hussein was toppled, they threw shoes at his statue. Well, that doesn't hurt the statue any, but the statue represented Saddam Hussein, and so since that was made in his image, they got angry at the statue. This is common tactic, and because we are made in God's image, Satan hates God, and therefore he takes it out on us, because he can't do anything to God.
In 1879, Wilhelm Wundt, the father of psychology, decided that man had no soul. Man was just a stimulus response animal with no self-determinism. He needed to be trained like any other animal. Supply the correct stimulus, you get the correct response, just like rats or dogs. In the early 1900s, Teachers College taught teachers the new science of psychology. These new methods of teaching would devalue academics and concentrate on behavioral techniques to mold children's values. Schools would be turned into mini psych clinics. The Rockefeller Foundation backed Teachers College and new educators like Edward Lee Thorndike, James Earl Russell, and John Dewey, who were disciples of Wundt. Together, they rewrote textbooks and curriculum for the new American education system. This system got away from learning to sound out words using a method called phonics. It was old and too difficult, they said. They now used a new method called look-see, or whole word. All you had to do was recognize words by the way they looked, instead of learning to sound them out. And even though reading levels took a nosedive, they continued to push these new methods. They hired professional educators that believed history and geography were unnecessary burdens on young minds. Children should concentrate more on how they feel about history rather than memorizing unnecessary facts. And most importantly, the teachers and counselors should be the ones to teach moral values to the children, not the children's own parents. Parents were not professionals. 1965, passage of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. The number of educational psychologists in schools rise from 455 in 1969 to 16,146 in 1992. Probably just coincidentally, the number of child murderers and suicides skyrocketed as well. Certain members of the government were overjoyed with this new form of education. Controlling the behavior of people, keeping them dumb, they could pass any laws they wanted and no one would even know.
This system gives whoever is in control of the state the opportunity to mold the character of the children to their values. Whether it's Mother Teresa or Adolf Hitler is immaterial. Neither Mother Teresa nor Adolf Hitler should have the right to mold every child in the state to their particular value system. That's the role of the families in the state. It doesn't matter whether you're liberal or conservative. It's a civil rights issue, you're right. Behavior modification is not liberal or conservative. It changes children to the state's desired response, and whoever controls the state controls the response.
Hitler said, let me control the textbooks, I'll control the state. Free education for all in public schools. That was Karl Marx's idea, our public school system. Arthur Keith said, evolution is unproved and unprovable. We believe it because the only alternative is special creation, and that is unthinkable. The Bible says they did not like to retain God in their knowledge. For this cause, God shall send them strong delusion. Anybody that believes they evolved from a rock 4.6 billion years ago, I would say is strongly deluded. You would have to have help to be that dumb. You could not do it on your own. You'd have to have years of training and conditioning to believe such a silly idea.
If there's one question we all want the answer to, it's where did we come from? So, about 3.5 billion years ago, the Earth is a lifeless, oxygen-free environment. Earth's oceans at the time were filled with all kinds of minerals, including a lot of iron. If you've heard the term primordial soup, that's what we're talking about. And then at some point, bacteria form and start converting all the carbon dioxide, methane, and ammonia. So the idea is that in the soup are all the things that you need to make all life on Earth.
You worthless piece of slime! You ignorant, disgusting clod!
You're nothing but an unstable short-chain molecule!
You foul, obnoxious moth!
You have a weak electrochemical bond!
I have seen some disgusting crud in my time, but you take the cake! You're just...
This is what you do with your spare time.
Is it possible for a person to go insane? I mean, absolutely loony? Oh yeah, it happens, doesn't it? Okay. Is it possible for an entire group of people to go insane? Can you imagine over 900 people drinking poison Kool-Aid and killing themselves? A whole group went insane. Is it possible for an entire nation to go insane? You know, like millions and millions of people go just plain old nuts? Oh, it's happened, folks. Hey, is it possible for the entire world to go insane?
The world has all of us on a leash made of rules. Do this, don't do that. But it's a leash that slips right off as soon as we recognize that we don't have to do anything anyone tells us to do. Of course, if you really want to break free from your handlers, it seems like you have to do the opposite of what you've been told.
A psychopath has a marked taste for antisocial behavior and never displays any remorse. They are characterized by unstable, amoral, impulsive personalities and are intolerant of any frustration. Psychopaths show no empathy towards others.
I remember sitting beside a lake when I was 8 years old, watching ants march in perfect formation. And it suddenly became entirely clear to me that ants ruled the world and had only tricked us human beings into thinking that we were in charge. Do you have any idea how powerful and brilliant they must be if they've managed to deceive the entire human population? A few years later, I figured out that pets actually controlled the planet. Whenever a cat or a dog would look me in the eyes, I would think that it was communicating with me, silently bragging that it was much more intelligent than humans were. So part of my youth was spent talking to animals, telling them, I know what's going on here. I'm onto you. But I grew out of that sort of silliness. By the time I was in 10th grade, I was convinced that I controlled the weather. I didn't know how I controlled the weather, I just knew that I did. It would start raining and I would think, okay, how did I do that? I also had the ability to control time, but I didn't know how to use this ability yet. That summer, my best friend from elementary school died. Jimmy had always talked about going parasailing. He finally got the chance and his harness broke. He plummeted to his death. When I heard about it after knocking on his door, I had the same reaction I'd had when my dog Goliath died, namely, so what? But this time was different. It seemed like I should be bothered by Jimmy dying, so I started wondering if something might be wrong with me. After pondering this for several months, I realized why I was different. I had evolved to a higher stage of humanity. These sad little emotions the rest of you have, they're like vestigial tales left over from more primitive life forms. But Humanity 2.0 had arrived, and you earlier models were now obsolete.
A psychopath characterized by their excessive appetite for murder and the pleasure they extract from their actions. Their crimes make them feel all-powerful, to the point where they feel they'll never be caught.
Started studying bomb building when I was 18. Nothing fancy yet. I got a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook. I learned to make pipe bombs. I learned to put together a homemade grenade launcher. I bought a book on disguises so I wouldn't be recognized. But it all felt a bit amateurish. So I decided to become a chemistry major in college where I could learn to build something a little more sophisticated. But my plans of becoming a bomber had to be put on hold because there are more important things in life. Anyone can blow up a bunch of random people. You don't know them. If you're sick of life dangling at the end of society's puppet strings, the killing has to start much closer to home.
A fantasy, an imagined event fulfilling a profound desire.
My dad was the only relative I had within a few hundred miles, so he obviously needed to die, and I had a ball-peen hammer that would do the trick. And I walked into my dad's bedroom at about 2 o'clock in the morning, Thanksgiving Day. I stood over him with the hammer, and I tried to think of one wrong thing he'd ever done to me. Nothing came to mind. So I drew back my arm and came down on him with all 230 pounds. Kept hitting him until I was sure he was dead. Then I walked outside and drove away.
Kip Kinkle said, if there was a God, he wouldn't let me feel the way I do. There is no God, only hate. What happened to Kip Kinkle? Well, in 1998, Kip Kinkle walked into the cafeteria, shot 50 rounds from a semi-automatic rifle, 26 students injured, 2 killed. Later, the bodies of his parents were found in his home. He was arrested, taken to police headquarters where he attempted to murder a detective during his initial questioning. Almost right after the shooting, 5 more students within the Springfield School District in Oregon were arrested for threatening to murder students. One elementary kid shot 5 of his classmates with a BB gun. If there's a God, he wouldn't let me feel the way I do. Well, maybe if Kip Kinkle had been learning, hey, there is a God and he loves you and he's got a plan for your life and you better do what he says, maybe he wouldn't do that kind of thing. Could it be that what we're teaching our kids is causing this problem? Violent crimes have increased nearly 1,000% since I was a boy. There have been 29 school shootings in America since 1996. 29 school shootings just in the last 10 years. What has happened? Why are kids and teachers being killed and parents being killed by students?
An atheist organization that is trying to spread their message to counteract the activities of Christians, such as handing out Bibles and stuff like that, is handing out satanic materials. And they want to hand out their satanic books, children's books, to schools in Florida, declaring that Jesus is dead. The Orange County School District in Florida may soon have to allow satanic books to be distributed to children, all because they allowed the distribution of Bibles in the schools.
Dylan Klebold at Columbine High School and Eric Harris made a videotape before they did the shooting. On the tape, they're talking about a football player. They said he doesn't deserve the jaw evolution gave him. Look for his jaw, it won't be on his body. Klebold's father was a geologist who believed in evolution. Both of them were followers of Nazi teachings. They did the shooting on Hitler's birthday on purpose to commemorate Adolf Hitler. They shot Isaiah just because he's black. Eric's t-shirt said, natural selection. Natural selection. That's what evolution teaches. Since, if you go back a couple years to 92, there have been 235 students killed in a 10-year system, 10-year span of our school system. 10% of all the boys in schools are now threatened or injured with a weapon at school. 1 out of 10.
This is one of the rarest books in the world. This little book right here, really delicate. It's done in 1782. This is the first Bible ever printed in English in America. They printed 10,000 of them. There's 22 left in private hands. This is one of them. So, one of the rarest books in the world. What's cool is this Bible, the Bible of the Revolution, was printed by the Congress of the United States. So Congress printed the first English language Bible. They said in Congress that this Bible is, quote, a neat edition of the Holy Scriptures for the use of our schools, end quote. So the Founding Fathers in Congress printed the first Bible in English, and they did it for the use of schools? I didn't think they wanted the Bible in schools. It's what we hear. It's what we've been told. The Bible was put in schools back in 1647, first public school law. We kept it in schools till 1963 when the court said, yeah, we've done it 320 years, let's do something different. And now we're told the Founding Fathers never wanted the Bible in schools. That one piece of history right there proves exactly the opposite.
I am very much afraid that the schools will prove to be the great gates to hell unless they diligently labor in explaining the Scriptures, engraving them on the hearts of the youth. I advise no one to place his child where the Scriptures do not reign paramount. Every institution in which men are not increasingly occupied with the Word of God must become corrupt. Here's a 1777 school book used here in America, the New England Primer. They taught the kids the alphabet using poems like this. In Adam's fall we sinned all, heaven to find, the Bible mind, Christ crucified for sinners died. Can you believe that's a public school textbook? Here's how the kids learned their alphabet again. A wise son maketh a glad father. Bible verses for all the letters of the alphabet. This is a textbook from about 100 years ago. It says, God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days.
The neighbor gave me, a neighbor kid ran a paper route and threw papers. And so he said, Kent, would you like me to give you any extra papers I've got? I said, well, just one, but sure. I didn't want to take the paper because we didn't have a parakeet. And he said, would you, so he gave me the paper, and one of the articles in there said dinosaur bones found in Montana from 80 million years ago, or something like that. And I wrote my first ever letter to the editor. I said, folks, this is not a dinosaur from 80 million years ago. This would be a dinosaur that drowned in the flood in the days of Noah. Dinosaurs are not millions of years old. They are, the whole world's only 6,000 years old. A letter to the editor. Well, man, you would have thought I had shot the sacred cow. I got called everything but a white boy in that paper for the next 6 months.
Prayer is a duty, but it's vain to pray without a sincere desire of heart. God governs the world in infinite wisdom. You believe that's a public school textbook? Well, here's one today. Evolution is fact, not theory. Birds arose from non-birds and humans from non-humans. No person who pretends to any understanding of the natural world can deny these facts. Wow, something's changed.
Well, thanks to you for sending that creation science material, because I always believe the lie that evolution is truth, the theory of evolution is truth, that we all just came from the slime, and when we died, that was it. There was nothing. So the whole theory cheapens life, and started reading books about that show how evolution is just a complete lie. There's no basis in science to uphold it, and I've since come to believe that that the Lord Jesus Christ is the true creator of the heavens and the earth. It just didn't just happen, and I have accepted Him as my Lord and Savior, and I believe that I, as well as everyone else, will be accountable to Him.